Hi and welcome to the That Dog 501 channel. The premise of today's video came to me as I was watching the big summer preview Games Workshop did, and a miniature by the name of Dana Flysander caught my eye, and I thought he might be easy to kit bash. The reason I've wanted to do a kit bash is because our current Drago is Finecast and isn't on the Games Workshop website anymore, and he's just a miniature I've been wanting for a while, even if it's not official. This raises the question, how does this turn into this? And I think I've got a solution. In my mind, there are only four main areas of interest for conversion: the shield, the weapon, the helmet, and what's mounted on his back. First off, for the shield, I'd originally thought I could use a Deathwing Terminator shield, but it doesn't have quite the right shape, and his shield is already quite good in my opinion. So I just need to get the insignia off the bottom and maybe put in the symbol of the Inquisition and call it a day. Next up is the helmet. For me, there's only two real choices: either a Deathwing Knights or just a normal Grey Knight Terminator. I'm not going to decide now. When I have the miniature in hand, I think that'll be the best time to decide what head fits best. Then for the banner, I'm split between the Grey Knight's Ancient banner with part of it cut off, or the Sternguard Veteran banner. I feel I'm probably going to go with the Sternguard banner purely because it's more fitting with the actual Drago's banner that he has in his real model. Then the final quote-unquote large detail would be the weapon. I'm thinking, because of the size of it being a Primaris Terminator, I can go with the Deathwing Knight Sword. However, I think a Grey Knight Sword would be more fitting for obvious reasons. And again, I won't be able to know how easy it will be to interchange them or which one will look better until I have the model in hand. Then to finish up the model, I think I'll use some of the books from the Grey Knight Terminator sprues to give him a more accurate look. And then I might even try and model a couple insignias using some green stuff on his chest where there's currently an Imperial Fists logo. So it's been a couple of months and I've finally managed to get my hands on the actual model itself. Haven't started building it yet, but I've got some basing bits, as well as hopefully later on a new kind of basing for my Grey Knights, which will be underneath this rock here. However, more importantly, I've got helmet replacement, mainly swords, and then the emblem to go on the shield, as well as the book, which I don't think is in that. As well as the book, which will probably go just behind the shield. Maybe even there if I'm feeling really cheeky, try and connect it to the strings, but just have to build them. So I've actually just finished the main parts of it. I've unfortunately got to get some green stuff to fix up an issue I caused. However, this is the original Dana Flysander. You can see he's pretty good. A lot of Imperial Fist logos. And then my attempt at the kit bash. I managed to get a Grey Knight Pauldron on there, which I'm really happy about. I think it's called a Pauldron. Yeah. Went with a Grey Knight sword. Head fitting perfectly. The fist I'm just going to paint silver right Titan on the banner. I haven't glued that on, thankfully. I've added a book, a little sigil, taken off a lot of plaques, so I'll have to do a lot of freehand work. However, on the cape, scraped off one emblem. I also cut off a big disc. Does it show? I cut off that disc because obviously he no longer has a connection point. So I'm going to have to green stuff it up into this shoulder. But other than that, he looks really good. I just need to prime him up. Of course, base and everything done separate. However, this one, because hopefully he's going to be the start of my new phase of Grey Knights, he's going to have a new base underneath his tactical rock. So I'm going to have to wait a while to get what I need to make that base. But I can always paint him up. So I've just finished doing that. As you can see, the wash is still very fresh on the shield. But ignoring the bad paint quality, I've tried to spice it up, adding a bit of Mephiston red onto the normal corn red that I use. Because normally with my Grey Knights, their capes are very monocolour. So I try to add a bit of, I guess, professionalism. Just a bit of depth into the model without adding much edge highlighting with a non-red colour. But otherwise I think the cape looks great. Shield, I'm not too sure about. The back is absolutely lovely. I'm really proud of these nodes. I tried to write Drago on the shield, but bad at freehanding currently, especially with letters. So I gave up, but it still looks pretty good. So with the shield and cape done, I'm now moving on to Khaldor himself. Well, most of him, his base is still very much alone because I need to still get more stuff to do. Normally I would paint or prime my Grey Knights black, but for all the paper and gold that's going to be on him, I just decided to go with white. Mainly because it's easier, in my opinion, to paint paper and gold on white primer. So I've got the Iron Warriors, Leadbelcher all on, and he's looking good so far. I mean, obviously a bit basic because it is just silver and silver. But I think once I start adding colours like the paper, the gold, shoulder emblem, and the lights and everything, he should start coming to life a bit better. So I've just finished doing all the, I'd say dark colours, you know, like the paper, the purity seals, book, leather strap, the tubing here. I know it's not particularly a good colour to go with grey, it's quite clashing. However, I've got a very old Grey Knight here. I think he was one of my first Terminators, actually. Actually, it might have been my last, mainly because he has the head. But as you can see on his arms, he's also got the same kind of tubing. Now, originally that was just because I didn't have very many paint colours, but it stuck. All of my Terminators have it. I think even some of my non-Grey Knight Terminators have it, but he's done. I just need to add that shoulder colour, a couple more colours like the eyes maybe, and then I'll be able to move on to the sword. Here we have a very colourful, well, I say very, a much more colourful Khaldor Drago. We've got his shoulder emblem done like the shield with a Nemesis Force weapon. His little cape segment is all done up. The fist was a bit of a pain to paint because I got gold on it earlier. But other than the Inquisitor symbol that I'm going to try and do on his centre bit here, so it's not bland, I've only got the Titan sword. Is that going to focus? The Titan sword left to do, and then I can work on the base. But I don't think it'll be as interesting as I'd originally hoped. So I've just finished my version of the Titan sword Obviously, it's not very much like the actual Mini. I've taken bits from, well, not even bits, it's a Nemesis Force weapon, and it's very much still painted like that when you look at the handle. The only thing different is it's purple. I've added all in the non-armor bits with Black Templar, so now he looks a bit more normal. And a very sketchy Inquisitor symbol on the front. But other than that, I'm pretty happy with how he is. Now I just need to start working on the base. So obviously I've got to paint up his little tactical rock. That's fine, that's no hassle. However, for the base, I'd originally had an idea, but I don't think I'm going to use it on him since I'm never really going to use him. So unfortunately, I'm just going to have to go back to my normal basing, which you might have seen earlier, but I've got another example of my Terminator Chaplain. It's just a bit of Astro Granite. With him, I'll probably keep this section black, just makes it look a bit better. But I might see if I add a couple of things, maybe like a helmet or two, even skulls, just to see how it looks, see if I can spice it up a bit, but time to get working. So I'm currently dry fitting everything together just to see how it looks, because that's still wet currently. It's not glued on, it's just on there, but I really like how he looks. Even if he's incredibly goofy, some people may say he's not really a Grey Knight. I don't care. I think he looks cool. But the only qualm I have is, the only real issue is this connection here. Because obviously I've cut it off. Don't mind me, I'm trying to hold them together. I've had to cut it off. So obviously it's just dangling there. And I don't have any green stuff. So I'm either going to have to let it hang like that until I can get my hands on some, or use white tack that I've painted red, which at this rate is probably going to have to be white tack that I've painted red, but I'll see what I decide. Here he is, my incredibly scuffed Caldor Drago model. For my first real-time kit bashing, and what I had to hand, considering my brushes are absolutely ruined, I'm really happy with how he turned out. Like, all the small details, maybe not the cape, it was a bit silly, but the clasp didn't even go anywhere near his shoulder. But I'm really happy with how he turned out. Just need to get that glue and hair off him first, and then I'll be happy. Then here among my Knights of Titan, it's my now Caldor Drago, ready to lead them into hopefully battles if I can find any Legends data sheets. But I'd like to thank you all for watching this long. If you enjoyed, please like and subscribe. But if you've got any ideas for any future either like kit bashes or models I need to add to my Grey Knights, Dark Angels, Tyranids, please let me know down in the comments below. Great, hope you have a nice day.